Why, hello, guys. So, it's me, Rob Lambert, the admin of the Silent Hill Restless Dreams website, Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube, some other things, Google Plus. So, it's been a while since I've actually had a presence in Silent Hill. As you might have known, my Facebook page, which is usually very active, has been very quiet recently. It's mainly due to work, other things like that, just personal lifestyle things, all that stuff you do when you get older. So I'm gonna ramble on. This is a little rambling series, so I'm here pretty much in a room talking to myself at the moment, which is kind of weird. Uh, but I do it a lot, so I thought, hey, might as well just ramble and let people listen to me. So I'm gonna keep on topic. I'm not late to the party. I'm very well aware of the biggest news in Silent Hill world for a long time, which is Silent Hills has been cancelled. Yes, I know, shock horror. I think I mentioned in one of the posts quite frequently what I felt about that, and also I did a podcast recently, the State of Play podcast, the State of Play podcast, there we go, using my words. Which was just kind of, we had a big chat about video games, and they thought, it was my first time on the podcast. Let's talk to him about the consolation of Silent Hills. And yeah, I used words I never thought I'd used before. No, it was fairly clean. But if you want to hear the unedited, the extra sort of naughty version of what I said, then there's a link down below in the YouTubey thing, or it'll be on my probably Facebook page as well. Just listen to that. There's some other videos up there, other audio recordings up there. We're planning on doing a few more podcasts. So yes, advertising. So yeah, check that out. Anyway, going back to Silent Hills. Yeah. It's cancelled. It's fucking cancelled. It's fucking bullshit. That's what it is. Uh, you know, I'm at that point where I'm stuttering my words because I just don't know what to say. I mean, part of me feels like it was gonna happen. I think as gamers, I hate to use the term gamers, but as people who play the video game world, we've come to be very cynical and expect this sort of thing. We're just so used to it now. The problem is we look at it from our point of view, which is, oh my god, they cancelled a really awesome horror game. It was going to be big. Trust me, probably wouldn't be as huge as we think it is. The horror franchise, the horror genre as a whole, is not really. It doesn't sell as well as you think. It never has, never will. I mean, sure, we have big players on YouTube, Twitch, and all that who play horror games for a living, make a lot of money off it, but that's more of a reaction type thing rather than the game. Sure, some of that pushes towards people playing and picking up those games, but a lot of people just, A, are too scared to play horror games, which is weird for most of us who play horror, but quite frankly, there's a lot of people who are scared of this stuff. And second of all, they just have no interest in it. We're in that sort of culture now where we just don't really care about playing horror. I mean, if we look at games like Silent Hill 1, Silent Hill 2, now these games are, these are gems of the PS1, PS2 era. Let's get that right there. But gems doesn't necessarily mean sales. I'm not quite sure on the sales figures of Silent Hill 2, but I remember it being, it sold well, but it's not on the sort of level as, we would expect the more like Call of Duty are things to say that. I can't really compare it to Call of Duty because I would be comparing it to the Call of Duty on the PS2. But if we say Silent Hill 2 was on the Xbox 360 or the PS3, and it would be one of those gems, but it wouldn't be like a big seller. And I think we're kidding ourselves if we think Silent Hills is actually going to sell a lot of copies. Horror games historically don't sell a lot of copies. I think it's a niche market. It's a very dedicated niche market. Don't get me wrong, the fans are rabid and love them. We love horror, but it's not a big deal to a lot of people, which is why we see games like, Dead Space 3 and, and Resident Evil 6 trying to appeal to different markets, different target markets. Resident Evil 6 tried to appeal to every market. And it waters down the experience, but to places like Capcom, to people like to companies like Konami, all they really care about is money. They're a company. They're not a person. They don't really have emotions. All they care about is, in a sense, pleasing their investors. And without the investment, let's be quite honest here. Without the people who put money into these things, their shareholders, without those people, we wouldn't have fucking video games. It's just a shame that we're living in a world today where people are just fucking scared of experimenting. It's understandable because the gaming industry as a whole, video games, the development process and the amount of money we put into game now is ridiculous. Like, the scope of games has changed so much. We're not just talking about actually developing the game. We're talking about really large QA budget, like quality assurance budgets. We're looking at high-end production values, and we're also looking at a lot more focus on really pushing the marketing behind these games. We're not talking from YouTube to online marketing to television. We're talking to conventions, things like that. Gaming has changed. Gaming is big. Gaming makes money, lots of fucking money, and with that, it destroys creativity because people are afraid to be creative, which I can understand. That's me typing in the background. Okay, sorry, but yes, God, I'm so unprofessional. Fucking hell. But these companies are afraid to experiment. We have indie games. I hate to call them indie games because a lot of the games that call themselves indie are really just big sort of small man team developers or big end sort of publishers pushing for smaller teams. But the indie market themselves try to dedicate. They're a little bit more creative. Sometimes, in my opinion, a little bit too creative to a point where their games are shit. I'm not saying that for all indie games. A lot of my favourite games are indie games, by the way. But we need a return to form to these sort of middleware, sort of in the betweens of indie development and AAA gaming. We definitely need more focus on that. We need people to be a bit more experimental, because let's think about it. AAA games are all about scope. They're all about budget. They're all about marketing, and they're all about pretty graphics. That's pretty much defines AAA game. Middleware, the sort of in between indies, sort of smaller man teams that focus a little bit more on the gameplay. They have a little bit more to experiment. Graphically, it's not their huge focus, unless that's the aim of the game, I guess. If you're having a very art-driven game, then sure, the appeal, the aesthetics could drive that. But it's more about the mechanics themselves, which is where I feel that if we're going to see a relapse or a relive of Silent Hill, it needs to be middleware. It doesn't want to be AAA. I think Konami need to step away from that. I think even as a company, they need to step away from AAA. Well, in the video game sector anyway. I think they're doing quite well with their pachinko stuff. But they have Metal Gear Solid, and in my eyes, that's pretty much it. I couldn't give a shit about most of their games nowadays, which is a shame, because Konami were, and kind of are, still one of my favourite companies. But if they really want to bring Silent Hill back, please, for the love of God, just don't have it as a high budget. Think about, the middleware, appealing to that sort, because they're not going to make a ton of money off it. So you need to have a smaller budget, but allow a little bit more of creative freedom. That kind of moves me on to my next point, which is the whole Hideo Kojima. I can't even fucking say his name tonight. Jesus Christ. Sorry if that offended anyone who was religious. Anyway, Hideo Kojima. The Hideo Kojima saga. Let me put it to your point. Let me put it bluntly. Hideo Kojima is not the entire face of frickin' Konami. He's not the entire face of Silent Hill. He's a video game director. And if you work in or have any knowledge of the industry, one man does not make a game. He, in a sense, would be the creative scope behind Silent Hills, Metal Gear Solid, but at the end of the day, there are people below him who are actually working on the mechanics, the design, the aesthetics. There's people who are actually developing the game. And the fact that he's left, or is leaving, or is fired should be completely unnecessary to the cancellation of the game, because he is but one cog in the entire machine. So we can't just think about, oh, Hideo Kojima, they need Hideo Kojima to make something. No, they don't. They don't make that. They need competent designers, and they need someone who can completely, drive that vision, that creative vision. And I'm pretty sure that one of the designers on the team can do that. So I just I have faith that we will see another Silent Hill game in the future. I think hopefully they're not going to try and appeal to every single market, which is, let's face it, what AAA companies try and do nowadays. Is the games themselves are very bland and just very generic because they're just trying to target like one of my mates that kind of played games at school nowadays. Let's face it, we aren't in the market anymore, but there's still a market for us, and I think if there's still a passion for these sorts of games. I mean, horror is awesome, Silent Hill is awesome, Resident Evil is awesome. These games are freaking awesome. But in the grand scheme of things, to, generic gamer number one, I hate to be that dick, but these kind of games aren't that important. They're just a sort of, oh, cool, never heard of Silent Hill. Watch the film. But it's true. I think a lot of decision from Konami is, a lot of the splashback has been from the community, really. Konami don't give a shit. They don't give a shit because we're just a small kind of little bug that there's just casually annoying them. They have bigger markets to please. They have bigger consumer bases to please. We're just a smaller factor of that. And sure, mention things like, oh, we're cancelling Silent Hills. Oh, we're thinking about mobile games. That sounds fucking. That's like poo. That's just like shitting on us. That's like kicking us when we're down. We're gonna focus on the mobile market. But they don't. That's to some. At the end of the day, the mobile industry is fucking huge. It's fucking huge. The consumer base is faceless. Let's be honest. They basically do not exist. We don't see them. They are everybody. That Legion. They're adopting and focusing on the markets that make money. That's it. It's money. And as a person who wants to make money and live in this world, Konami are doing what they should be doing, which is making money, making the decisions, making business decisions. Sure, they're going to piss a few people off. They piss me off. And I got angry about it. Oh, I was very angry. But at the end of the day, they don't give no fucks. No matter how many petitions, how many times we cry, unless the entire video game industry goes, no, this is stupid, stop it. Every single game in the world signs a petition, says, Konami, stop doing this. Then nothing's going to happen. I think the best we can look for this is Konami think about, okay, let's respect this. Let's keep it within our, the same development team. Let's scale down the scope a little, rebrand it, change it a little, make it shorten the budget, because with a high budget, there's a high expectation from investors to appeal to that broader market. With a lower budget, there's a bit more scope and a bit more creative freedom. They always say that the less money you have, the more sort of creative freedom you need to try and do, because if you have so much money, you just want to do everything. You want to get everything in, and too many cooks spoil the broth. That's just kind of my rambles, really, about Silent Hills. That was kind of very clean. I'm glad that the 4 people probably listening to this are going, oh, he's back in form. Oh, you might have never heard me before. I'm going to do these quite often, I think. I'm going to try and, in a sense, move away just from Silent Hills. The biggest problem why I haven't been doing a lot of posting on my fan pages and my web page is because, to be quite frank, Silent Hill news is pretty fucking quiet. Regardless of the new merchandise crap what we have occasionally and stuff like that. The biggest news we've had recently is, oh my god, Silent Hills has been cancelled. That's it. That's gonna be it probably for the next 6 or 7 years. So I'm gonna focus probably on horror, and just ramble about stuff. If people think that's fun, enjoyable. I want to bring back the Restless Dreams podcast. I want to rebrand it. It's gonna be bigger. It's gonna be better. It's gonna be awesome. But for now, this is me signing out. Yeah. I'm hoping you have a very, very pleasant day today. Outside for me, it's very fucking dark. But yes, this has been Robert Lambert of the Restless Dreams fan page. Thanks for listening, and if you can just hit subscribe below. Don't forget to go to my Facebook page and definitely check out the podcast. There's nothing better than, free gamers moaning about video games. Since that is what we do nowadays, is we just moan about video games and not play them. How times have changed. Oh, but Final Fantasy 7 got announced. Yay! Yay! Shenmue free. Yay! Yay!